4th. Approve the agenda. Councillor Julik.
That the March 4th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of minutes for February 20th, 2024. Regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Noxana.
That the February 20th, 2024 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Clickash. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Business arising. Council. Staff.
None, Your Worship.
Thank you. Delegations, Tumbler Ridge Public Library, Paula Coutts, head librarian, and board members in attendance to present an overview of 2023 at the Tumbler Ridge Public Library and to discuss the budget. Welcome.
It's actually board members presenting and Paula Coutts in attendance.
There we go.
So, how's the sound? Excellent. Dear Mayor and Council, so I'm not here today as chair of the Tumbler Ridge Library Board, although I am that. No, I'm here today as a member of this community, as somebody who lives in Tumbler Ridge and who uses the library services. I'm here as myself, yes, but I'm also here to represent the young mom looking for things to do with her baby. I'm here representing the unemployed workers who need help submitting their resume or employment packages to CNUMA, since you can't walk into their offices. I'm here for all the kids in grades 4 to 8 who go to the library to play Roblox or to spend time in virtual reality. I'm here representing the retirees who read 4 or 5 or 6 books a week, for the people in town who can't afford to get the internet hooked up at their house, or who are new to town and are unable to get service. I'm here on behalf of all the kids who get a free book every month as part of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, for every parent who got a picture of their kid with Santa this year, and for everyone who has gone through the summer reading program. And yes, I am also here as a middle-aged man whose eyes are getting to a point where reading a book means putting on a different pair of glasses. We are not everyone in town, but we represent a wide cross-section of people who live here, and we believe the library is important. A few months back, the district was looking at having spaces in the winter where people could go in to get warm, places in the summer where when it got really hot, they could go in and keep cool. And these are places, in the words of Eric Kleinenberg, who's a sociologist, these are places of social infrastructure. These are places where democracy is built and tested. The child care centers, the churches, the public parks, the community center, and yes, the library. It's in these shared public spaces that ideas are formed and transmitted, tested and tried. It is in these shared spaces where many of the most vulnerable people are able to find a support network. It's in these shared spaces where we build community, and not just be a place where a bunch of people live in proximity. It is here in the public squares of this place where Tumbler Ridge truly exists. Over the last 20 years or so, public library services have transformed dramatically. Where once it was a home to mostly books, it now offers wireless internet services, e-books, audiobooks, computer access. At the same time, our town has transformed too. People have come and gone, and the people who live here are more diverse. We are no longer just a coal mining town, and how the library serves the people coming in the doors needs to be responsive of that. Yes, the library is still a place of books, but it's far more than that too, just as Tumbler Ridge is far more than just a coal mining town. That's why for the last few years, we've been loaning out Wi-Fi hubs, where every year we upgrade a portion of our computers, why we invest it in a VR rig, so that the library can continue to its mandate to improve and promote literacy, intellectual freedom, and free access to information for all residents of and visitors to Tumbler Ridge. Putting on my board chair hat, in 2023, two of the biggest new things to hit the library were the aforementioned Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which sends a free book each month to children ages 0 to 5, and the ends of fines for patrons bringing materials in late. The latter, when it was suggested, caused some scandal. How can we as a library forgo this chance to pad our coffers? The easy answer to that, of course, is that 10 cents a day for an overdue book, it frequently costs more money to administer and deal with the fine in staff time than what was made from the fine itself. Well, why not raise the fines? Well, study indicates the more punitive the fines, the more likely people will just keep the books and not come back to the library, meaning not only would the library be out the material, it wouldn't be serving its purpose to provide access to information. So for these and other reasons, fines have been scrapped. We haven't seen a significant uptick in people keeping books, and we have seen a small uptick in donations as people, instead of being forced to pay 10 cents as punishment, willingly donate a few dollars in thanks. The library operates under the BC Libraries Act, and we'd love to see an increase in provincial funding, but the Act is structured to establish a strong working relationship between the library and the district, because you, as the Act dictates, are our primary source of funding. And your role as council is similar to our role as the library board. It's not to save money, but to use the resources at your disposal in a fiscally responsible manner to provide services to the town, from clearing snow to putting up Christmas decorations, to keep the community center open and in good repair. And there's this constant tension, this pressure from above to keep costs down while still providing the same service or better service than before. While for the other end, costs continue to rise. And the budget we are presenting reflects both these aspects and hopefully threads the needle of being both fiscally responsible, but also focusing on providing services to the community. Now I'm going to introduce my Zach, who's Zach.
Hi. Good transition,
Zach.
Trent. I appreciate that. I'll pick up where
Thanks.
Trent left off. My name is Zach Schoenberger. I'm Vice Chair of the Tumbler Ridge Public Library Board, here to present and discuss the Library Board approved budget for 2024. I hope you find the handouts in your budget package. The first handout is titled 2023, A Year in Review, which highlights some of the public library's major accomplishments in 2023. The other handout is titled Your Local Library is Invaluable. It provides a variety of statistics that reflect the value of the public library's services and materials used by the community of Tumbler Ridge. The dollar figures are generated using a methodology developed by the American Library Association, which approximates the real value of materials and services according to their real-world costs. For example, according to those calculations, we see that the library saved the community approximately $484,000 through its services. Based on the total volume of adult book lending, as an example, Tumbler Ridge citizens saved approximately $72,000 that would otherwise be spent on purchasing adult books from book vendors. We hope these figures help illustrate the incredible economic benefit provided by the public library to its patrons. With that out of the way, I'd like to thank Council for inviting us today to hear the Library Board approved budget of $455,028. Moreover, the library would like to thank councillors for providing its much-needed budget increase in 2023. The library has the goal of having its funding restored to a level that meets its operational needs following several years of budget cuts that preceded the increase in 2023. As we're sure you've noticed, this year's approved budget is higher than last year's, which is mainly due to the continuing rise in costs of materials and services. However, it remains a bare bones budget in terms of operating expenses. The library board is confident in the head librarian's fiscal responsibility as she continues to avoid any unnecessary expenses while emphasizing the need for staff retention and quality services that serve our community. Despite Paula Coutts' diligence, the costs of materials, services, and wages have skyrocketed. In 2022 and 23, government-mandated regulations increased the library's costs, including 5 mandatory paid sick days for each employee, 45 cents on the hour increased to minimum wage, increased employer premiums for CPP and EI, and increased WorkSafe BC premium. Moreover, the minimum wage will increase again this June. Meanwhile, inflation has hit a record high of 6.8% in 23, and although it is abated somewhat to 3.9%, the public library still feels the impact of the rising cost of goods. The library, however, was fortunate enough to receive from council an improvement to its funding in 2023, which eased this burden by allowing it to increase some staff wages. The funding also helps support new initiatives, such as the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which has covered costs of delivering free new books to families in Tumbler Ridge in support of the library's mandate to provide literacy activities in homes. This brings us to our present budget, which represents an effort to keep up with rising costs and further improve staff wages, as well as to continue providing services that profoundly benefit our community. Moreover, the budget supports restoration of the library's hours to pre-COVID service levels by opening 7 days a week. The board recognizes that traffic in the library is booming and that it is time for the library to resume normal operations. Increasing the library's open hours provides shift workers better opportunities to use library services and families a place to bring their children to play and learn while siblings attend activities at the arena or the swimming pool. The board believes that the district of Tumbler Ridge and the many new families here would benefit tremendously from sustainable funding and the services that follow. For example, the library wants to keep and attract staff by paying wages that are comparable to entry-level administrative positions elsewhere in town. The highly demanding work of library staff and the technical training required of them is compensated with one of the lowest rates in the district, often 25% less than the lowest paid jobs in Tumbler Ridge. As a further example, library employees are currently paying 50% of their own tuition to complete library technician diplomas. This kind of training is a fundamental necessity for library employees, and yet they're required to carry half the financial burden on top of receiving low wages. The library should be funded with enough capacity to adequately train its own staff and pay a competitive wage. It also places the library at risk of being critically unsustainable, as staff may be forced to find better paying jobs elsewhere or have additional jobs that limit their availability and thus limit the library's ability to cover for illnesses. These are real problems that the library is actively facing. To conclude, the board has approved a minimum budget that keeps the doors to the library open and maintain its critical vital services to the community. As you can see in your handouts, the library provides a municipal service that is critical for a thriving community and which provides a direct economic and social benefit to all citizens of Tumbler Ridge. Although the requested amount is higher than last year's budget, this increase must be seen in light of major cuts to the library's funding over the years previous to 23. The massive increases in the cost of materials and services have also caused undue burden. If the district is interested in seeing the library thrive and grow, to keep up with rising costs, to offer more services to its patrons, and to provide adequate wages to its hardworking, passionate employees, it should support the library board approved budget. As stated by the District of Tumbler Ridge in 2012, the main reason for the library becoming a municipal service is to provide a greater degree of funding support for the library operation. The library board requests the district council to continue meeting its obligation by accepting the 24 board approved budget as presented. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions from council? Councilor Knoxell.
Thank you. And thanks for coming in. It's always great to hear what's happened throughout the year at the library. I have concerns about the budget. You're asking for $180,000 a year per resident. If we're estimating based on 2,400 residents, that's what we were at the evacuation. That's not feasible. How can we sustain this long term?
Pardon me, I don't quite understand. 180
Oh, $180 a resident
$180.
for 2,400 residents.
Tax.
Yeah.
Impact. Yeah, and I mean, the issue is where are they going to be paying for it, right? We have figures here that say we've saved the community close to $500,000 in, not having to go out and pay TELUS to hook up their internet, for not having to go out and buy a brand new book that, they might be interested in, but would have to go to a bookstore, that we save them, having to drive to Dawson Creek to participate in children's programming, right? There is, there are,
Can I
yeah,
take a
go
stab?
for it. Here, my Zach is going to.
I would see the question as, first of all, so how can we not, let me rephrase. It would be unsustainable if we did not provide this funding to the library, even at the rate that you've identified. If we provide less than the funding that we've asked for, the library is at risk of closing its doors. So it would be unsustainable to fund it for less than the figure provided, in fact. And there is an ample return on investment for the $180 per person. I can think, I pay for several subscriptions that are more than $180 a month, for example, that provide me with information or education or anything like that. We think about learning, LinkedIn Learning, or think about Netflix and all of our streaming services that we pay for, easily adding up over $200 a year, $1,000 a year probably for some people. Whereas the library is providing all of those services packaged up in one. You can get streaming services through their library. You can get in this form of audiobooks, books to read. I mean, Audible, I think, costs more than $180 a year. So you're really providing, at that rate, you're providing citizens with a tremendous value, actually. And by doing it collectively, like in bulk, you're reducing the costs for everyone by doing it this way.
Just a quick follow-up. I see the value in a library. I have young children, and we've used the library since moving here. At this rate, it's not sustainable, though. So I'm not sure.
I mean, it's hard to see in things like libraries. It is a soft service, right? It's not when you say, oh, $220 of your taxes are going towards road cleaning. Well, you see the result of that on the face of it. What you don't see from the library is you do not see how many people have managed to get employed by Conuma, because Conuma has a door right there, but you're not allowed to walk in it and drop off your resume. You have to fax it. So you have to go to the library to fax it or to email it. You don't see the benefits that are provided. I was just reading an interview with Ray Bradbury, who's one of the great science fiction writers. He says he grew up poor, and he wanted to go to school to be a doctor, I think, but he wasn't able to afford it. So what he did was he spent his time in the library, and in that became one of the best-selling writers. But it's hard to say, aha, here's the financial return on that. Here's the actual physical hardcore benefit. We've provided you figures saying that what the library does is returns $500,000 of value to the community. And I mean, if the town hall doesn't think that paying less than $500,000 to get $500,000 in value, well, I mean that's your choice. But there is value. We're trying to find ways to express that in terms that say, okay, well, here we've invested $1, we got $1.25 back. Like not the district itself, but the community.
Can I make one additional point as well?
Okay.
This is also the budget that is required to run the library, and it is the figure that we are presenting, as in this is what it costs to run a library, and it is council's obligation to support the library through the funding that it requests.
Just clarity on that, that's not absolutely true. So just clarity on that we're not obligated to follow the budget that's been put forward by the board. Council can debate it and lower it and give that option back to the library board. Just because you come in with a number does not put us as an obligation to vote in favor of your budget. The board, as the volunteers may have established this budget, it is up to council to debate it during budget season if we can afford that amount. That's what our job is, as council and mayor. So just because you guys put a budget in front of us, it doesn't mean that. Just I understand what your questions were, so that's my clarity on that. And if I'm wrong, I mean, I'll look into it, but I've looked fairly heavy into this. I understand you guys are passionate and everything else, and I don't blame you. But really and truly, it's up to council that when we have to have a budget put in place, including the libraries, as a total budget, some things get moved.
I respect and appreciate your interpretation of the bylaw, and I do. I'm not a lawyer. I've read the bylaw. There's a section there that says with or without amendment. It's not quite clear to me. It is a difficult and sticky situation to be in, right? Yep. And we really do take our fiscal responsibility that we're legally bound to be fiscally responsible to the library, and that, that's our job as board, and that we really respect our fiscal, fiduciary responsibility in that regard. And so the budget we bring is amenable as it can be.
Yeah, and we appreciate that. I mean, and, not to get into that part of that debate, but Councillor Hoffman?
I actually have a few things, but let's go with that one
Go
first.
ahead.
I am, Mayor, curious on where you got that opinion from. I've gone over that act many times myself trying to understand it, and I don't interpret it that way. So did we get a legal opinion at some point?
We
on
can
what
if we want. We can if we want.
Okay, then we-
Just everybody interprets it different, just like the board directors did.
No, that's fair enough, but the way I read the act is there would have to be a question of the fiduciary duties not being met for us to say that. And I don't disagree that there should be an option for if the town can't afford something that we could make that argument, but that's not how I read the act, and I'll stop there on that one. Going back a step, if I may do a two in a row here.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Hoffman.
Just hearing what I'm hearing, I think it's the wrong-minded approach. We are a town of 2,400, I can accept that number, and there's a minimum amount that needs to be spent on running a library. If we were a town of 1,200, that number would be even higher, and that becomes a debate on whether we want a library or not. I am very strongly in favor of having a library in just about any town, and except for the tiniest of towns. I think that we won't see it unless we lose it. There's a lot of benefits to having that communal space, to having that place for especially the smallest of kids. I look at our library and about 30% plus of the floor space is dedicated to the smallest of kids. And this one's on my social justice side. The libraries are used by the least privileged members of our society the most. And I mean society. I don't mean our town. I mean in general, the principle of a library. And I appreciate the number that Councillor Noxana brought up. I hadn't done that particular calculation, but in the end, if we trust the library board to meet its fiduciary duty, if they're going over it and saying, we're looking at this and this is what we need to meet the requirements of the act, there's not a whole lot of debate left, to my mind. And apparently we might have another round of debate for another aspect of that interpretation. But the question isn't how much per person. The question is, do we want a library or not? And I don't know if we're even allowed to say we don't want a library with the way the act's written. So I appreciate this local library is invaluable page. If anything, some of these numbers are a little low, and I just have no question that I would like to continue having a library in this town. So I'll stop there. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
Hey, thanks for coming. It's always fun to sit down there and we're up here and all of that stuff. I really appreciate the information. I was fortunate and was able to work at the library, so I know a lot about I got to experience a lot of the ins and outs and the services and stuff that were provided. Sitting on this side of the bench, of course, then I have to kind of put my hat someplace else. And so where my concern, not my concern, where my questions come is the biggest chunk that I see here is $33,000 in wages and increases and $7,000 in materials. Materials are kind of just the way of the world right now. Wages as well, I understand. I saw that the minimum wage was going to be going up again here in BC, so I understand that as well. Where it comes to me as a town councillor, what I anticipate is people asking me to justify that would be my concern. So I think if I could get, like, I know without saying exactly what everybody's roles are and what salaries and stuff are, if I can get a little bit of a breakdown on that size of an amount, like, so for $33,000 increase in wages is one of the places that I'm concerned. Just having the answer. And when I look at this number, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought last year, and I couldn't find the information, and I could have come in earlier and asked, and I didn't, so I'm going to see if I'll pick your guys' brains. Last year, I thought we were at 330. It was what 2022 was approved, which was a cut. And so we increased it by 60,000 is what I had thought in order to bring it up to par. And so I don't know if that's true, but I see here that it's 406 is what. So I just didn't know where the 406 came from. I see that it was the requested. I'm wondering if that was requested but not what you got. No, it was the amount. We did get 406, or we did give you 406? Okay. All right, so 33,000 would be the part where I would be curious, because that's a fairly big, like, that's a whole other person. Probably. So that would be my question. Like, I can get the other ones, they just kind of move a little bit here and a little bit there and stuff. So if I could get some clarity on that before we go to budgeting stuff, that would be great.
I'm just enjoying watching the trustees.
Well, the trustees are got to. The part of the presentation that I didn't get to was I was going to say that our role as trustees is again similar to what you guys are, which is to set the course, and it isn't operational. So when we get into the weeds, it's kind of out of our hands. So if it's okay, can we toss it to the person whose actually name is on the list to sit up here? Can we?
She can join you at delegation tables if she wish.
Yeah.
My chair.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you.
Here. Oh, you'll go grab that.
I was putting my hand up anyway to answer Councillor Noxana. Roxanne, mainly the 33,000 was accumulation of the increases to the employer costs, which have been ramping up over the last 4 or 5 years, hitting most hard in 22, 23, and again now in 24. And so with the cuts we were experiencing, we were absorbing those increases, but not getting ahead of them at all. So last year's increase was, a good chunk of that was the employer costs, all of the additional costs that we've already explained numerous times. And that continues this year with EI and CPP going up. Minimum wage, we're behind the 8 ball every time because they raise it in June and they don't announce even the amount they're raising it by until long after the budget's been submitted. We did guesstimate, and we actually didn't do too badly in terms of guessing what it would be going to in June of 24. So it is already taken into account in that budget amount, as are the EI and CPP increases. We've guesstimated as best we could for those increases. And yes, the board has already raked me over the coals for all of these numbers. So that's been done. My comment regarding the $180 per population is similar to what Councillor Hoffman said. I was going to use the other way. He went with a smaller library. I was going to go with a bigger library. A bigger library where it's divided, the budget amount gets divided over more people, is of course going to give you a lower number, but it doesn't mean that the people in Tumbler Ridge don't deserve or expect the same level of service that Dawson Creek or Chetwynd are getting, or Fort St. John for that matter. And that really became clear for us in the past year. I've been trying for about 10 years to get the Dolly Parton Imagination Library going. And over the last year or two, Dawson and Chetwynd have both implemented the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And our clients were asking, how come we didn't have that too? How could they have it and we didn't? And my understanding had always been that you needed to have the whole chunk in order to commit to the Dolly Parton Library, the whole amount, which is to ensure that you can commit for 2 or 3 years. And we'd approached different groups who weren't able to commit for that length of time. Last year, we had a grant from the year before that we'd won from someone that we were putting to the Dolly Parton Library. And then the province gave us a one-time enhancement grant that we were able to use to contribute to help get the rest of that. That's how we gave that to our clients, outside funding, not district funding. We used grant funding that we had sought and sought and sought. We asked more companies about supplying grant money. Some of it came from Lakeview, some of it came from CARHA, which is the Adult Recreational Hockey Association. So I think you have to consider what Tumbler Ridge residents expect. And then you have to look at things like the curling rink. How much does it cost to have the curling rink per capita? And how many per capita use it? How many are using hockey? I know hockey's really popular. I don't use hockey. I'm paying, but I don't use hockey. And that goes on forever. I mean, seniors who are paying for school board fees. It's just one of the things, as Trent said, that's your community. That's part of what you need. And I think we get a really good value for the money that goes into the library. And I have to say, and this is new, this is only in the last couple of weeks have I realized we are booming. We are back up pre-COVID where I'm seeing the numbers, I'm seeing the people, I'm seeing poor people come in, and within the same hour, I'm seeing people who are quite wealthy in town coming in and using the library. We're serving a really good cross-demographic of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for answering those. Yeah, I got a couple questions now that they put you in the hot seat, and I'm going to direct it to the trustees, and they can either answer it or not. And if they can't answer it, maybe they'll go to you, and if not, I can get it later. How many minimum wage employees do you have at the public library?
Right now, 2, and 1 will be moving out of it almost immediately, because what's the point in having a minimum wage person when I can hire an adult who already has some life skills and some other. This is going to do such a huge disservice for kids.
Yeah, don't disagree with you. And the other question is, it was mentioned by the trustees, that you guys pay 25% less than other jobs in DTR. What jobs are we talking about? What companies?
Kanuma, the district, other organizations across, that's the kind of look I do.
Okay.
Other organizations, I'm not just talking about 1 or 2.
Okay, thank you. And the other one before I go to Councillor Hoffman would be Community Kitchens grant that the public library receives.
Community kitchen, we're still looking for a commercial kitchen that's available.
So that is something that, so.
Absolutely, we've got grant money for that, and we're continuously looking for a community kitchen.
Okay, so where within the budget do I find that amount?
That is not in that budget because it is funded solely by the Community Adult Literacy Program grant that comes from the province in partnership with Northern Lights College. They apply for half the grant, we apply for the other half of the grant. If we don't use it for the community kitchen, then we use it for other literacy training that we do in the library, such as helping people with their computers, any of those kinds of activities.
Okay, so if we're using it within the library, would that be within your budget?
Pardon?
If you're using it, if you haven't started up the community kitchen yet or can't find the commercial kitchen that
Yeah.
you're looking for,
Yeah.
and you have that within the budget for 2023, where would I find that? Because if you didn't have a kitchen, commercial kitchen, I'm assuming that you use those funds for other things.
It would be in the grants part, down in the third part down near the bottom. It's I believe 16,000 was the amount,
Shows 3,500.
23, 24.
Yeah, but the CALP grant was 16,000. There were more than
Okay.
one.
And then my last one before I go to Councillor Hoffman, until I come back around, is actuals for 2023. Have you got your actuals to submit?
Close to zero, yeah, where we're supposed to be.
Perfect, thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just going back to Councillor Julick's question about the 33,000. From what I heard in the presentation, you're planning on opening Sundays again. So I'm wondering how much of that is in Sunday personnel budget?
It's about, just for the Sunday.
Yeah, that's the expanded hour part of it.
Roughly $50 an hour just for the Sunday, but those wouldn't be the only hours we'd be adding. I'd be adding hours through the week, probably in the morning. That seems to be when we have people waiting to come in that gap between when they drop off their children and the grocery store opens. So they're quite often.
Blame me, eh?
So they're quite often, so I'm thinking that maybe the mums and dads with their young ones who are kind of stooging around might want to pop into the library first. That's also when we get most of our older adults, because they don't like being there later in the afternoon when the kids are all there from school. So they tend to come in the morning. Also in the morning when they come, they have more time to do their thing, which is social interaction with the staff. And the clerks that we have right now are fabulous at that, and quite often are juggling 2 or 3 clients while they're having a conversation about someone's injury from the weekend. So it's, it's part of what we do is that social aspect of giving people that human contact. And so I'm thinking earlier in the morning, maybe an hour later in the evening, although at this point it would just be the kids playing on the computers, I think. So I'm leaning away from that. We'll see.
Thank you.
Follow up?
No, I'm good with that.
Okay. Any other questions from council? All right. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for coming in and giving us your presentation.
Thank you very much.
I guess the last point is if you do have specific questions that weren't dealt with tonight, Paula's door is always open because it's had to be taped open because the handle is broken. So, just swing by the library, have a conversation. You might want to call first.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Take the recommendation, please. Councillor Julik,
That all items in the March 4th, 2024 consent agenda be moved for information.
seconder. Councillor Dussault, all in favor? Carried. Are there any items that council would like to bring forward? Councillor Julik,
I would like to bring 7.3 forward
for discussion.
for
Seconder.
discussion. Sorry.
I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Julik.
I looked at the little video. It was pretty cool. I tried to get sound. I'm thinking there wasn't any sound. I hope there wasn't any sound because I never did figure out sound. But it was a nice little video. I thought it was a really good way to promote it. I don't go that way very often, but I can understand there's got to be a lot of traffic that does go through there. So I'm fully on board to throw support behind that for sure.
Okay. Did you want to do a motion for a support letter?
Sure. I would like to make a motion. Let me read his letter so I make the motion correctly. What's he looking for? We're excited. Do you want to go on to some other words and then I'll find out what
We'll come back
they're
if you want to
asking
read
for?
Okay, is there anything else council would like to bring for discussion? I'd like to bring 7.4 for discussion. If I can get a seconder. Councillor Noxana, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Myself and Councillor Dussault met with the executive director of the museum, Dinosaur Discovery Gallery, just to talk about the letter we received. And we did receive it quite early or late in 2023, October, and it took this much time to get together with the museum, so I'll take some of the blame for that, but it was trying to work around multiple schedules. So we were able to finally meet last week, and part of this discussion, and when we read the letter, it talks about, them reaching out to the museum, which they have yet to do. But it talks about Clint Fraser and stuff, and the museum being able to contact them and work with them, as well as the deputy minister and stuff. And I'd like to see, I guess, before I put a motion, but maybe I'll just put a motion that we direct staff to reach out to the Tumbler Ridge Museum, Claire Avison, Assistant Deputy Minister of Arts and Cultures, and Dick Grant, Assistant Deputy Minister of Tourism, to see what we can move forward in regards to propository for the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery. I'll take a second on that motion. Councillor Dussault. Discussion. So my comments there, before I go to Council Julick, sorry, is I think this is an opportunity when they reach out, and again, like I said, the letter came in October. We were able to finally meet and bring it forward to council. I think this is an opportunity to reach out to see what at the UBCM, the minister talked about the criteria, really didn't know the criteria that may be needed or not needed. And then it was explained that it was within their own ministry and that they were building one in Victoria so that they would have all the information on what the criteria is needed to have that. And I understand that the TR Dinosaur Discovery, I use it different because I don't use museum because funding models, hopefully they'll fund the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery part of it. I think this is an opportunity to reach out just to find out, they obviously have the criteria, where does the museum fit within that criteria, and what is the government willing to do to assist them? We constantly go down to the UBCM to bark up trying to get funding for the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery, the museum, the Geopark, all them. This is an opportunity to me when they reached out to us to talk about it at the UBCM and then circle back with a somewhat same letter. So I think this is an opportunity from the previous councils and mayors that have been fighting, to me, there's an uphill battle. There's an opportunity maybe to reach out to see if there's something there from the government that they're willing to do. Councillor Julick?
I think for me, I'm happy to support the motion and to reach out to them. What I would be looking for is the criteria versus like what would it take. So this is what your criteria is, or like my question's more along the line of this is what your criteria is, and this is where our museum, our Discovery Gallery, our paleontology, whatever the arm, I'm going to just say the museum has, and what does that look like for us in the future? Like, so for me, if it's a matter of us giving $200,000 for our museum to build a fireproof room for certain kind of fossils or whatever, you know what I mean? Like what will it take? Like, I would want to know, my curiosity comes at, are they just going to pick it because you're lucky number 5? Or are you going, like, what is, again, back to the criteria, but so what if all 4 communities meet the criteria, then what? Like, so for me, that's the part that I'd like to know about, because what can we do to put our finger on the scale to make sure that this happens? Like, this has been, you know, so if they come out and say, okay, well, we're going to give it to Nelson, well, why are you giving it to Nelson? What kind of time frame have they been working on this? How many years have they been doing this? How many, because from what I understand, our museum has been holding these, has been a repository at no financial gain to them or our district. We've done it with funds from the district and them with grant monies. Now that I could be misunderstanding, but that's how I understand it. So for me, it's not just about saying, what do we have to do? I want to know if there's 4 of us that have the exact same criteria, meet that, then how do you pick it? And how do we put our finger on the scale to make sure that it comes our way? So, and I'm happy to be that straightforward about it.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be straightforward. My thing is that this is an opportunity to me where the government reached out to us, and let's see if we can get funding for it. This isn't something that the taxpayer should be funding. You know, there's criteria that you have to have fire suppression and all this for protection of the fossils. So to me, this is just a step to, I mean, to me, I'd like to just see the Museum, Dinosaur Discovery Gallery, the collections group up there take this on, but I mean, their capacity, I know staff's probably, you know, thinking this is another job for them to take on, but I think it's just, you know, some letters, see what their thoughts are. Again, possibly going down to Victoria to meet with the Minister of Housing, and this is an opportunity that we've sent a letter to the Minister of Tourism as well to circle back there. I am not looking to fund this through taxation or taxpayers. To me, this is the government reached out to us at the UBCM, wanted to discuss this, and then the letter brings it back. So to me, when I talked with Zena and Councillor Dussault was there, you know, there are some points that they already know some of the criteria that they don't meet. I mean, fire suppression and this and that. Is the government willing to come in and help bring that facility up to what the standards need to be? Because at this point, my understanding from Zena and them is Stewart is actually phoning them to house fossils here. So that's why I thought this was an opportunity. When the government sends us a letter, it's an election year. Maybe the NDP needs to spend some money in the north past Hope BC, because BC does go past Hope BC. I use that a lot. So this, to me, that's why I want to send a letter. I think it's an election year and maybe we see something. Councillor Julick?
And I'm perfectly okay to send the letter. I guess for me, I don't want to, I would hate for us to not be chosen because of depending what that dollar amount is, do I have a threshold? Absolutely have a threshold. The other thing though is I also believe that if we were the repository, that's a bit of a boon as well. Like, so will that bring people here? Will that bring more notoriety? Is that the right word? I don't know, maybe. Basically the part about, oh, let's go to Tumbler Ridge, because I'm amazed at how many people come for dinosaurs. I'm sorry, museum people, footprints are footprints for me, but I know there's a ton of people that are like, that's their bucket list stuff. So while you're hoping that they spend it all, I'm okay even to spend a little bit. And that's, I guess, for me, I would like to know what that looks like. I don't want them to say, well, if you don't do it, you don't get it. If they're looking for us to chip in, I do. Anyways, you guys get it.
Yeah, it's called dialogue and let them come back, Councillor Julik. I think you gotta put the horse before the cart there and let them do their job and then come back and say there's an amount or there's no amount or whatever, and then have that debate. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just the way I read it is I don't think they have a restriction. I think the way that I interpret this is that they're looking for qualified people to hold on to fossils from their areas. And I don't know if that even translates to tourism, because a repository is more of an academic thing of access and trading between them and who's going to do what on displays. And I'm with you all. Let's let them tell us what they want to see and what they're willing to do to have it. And I like your earlier point of we don't see anything from that side of things. It's purely background stuff going on. So why not make it develop the museum or whatever they need to do to contribute if they want that practice, because that takes somebody cataloging, keeping track of, maintaining, and all of that stuff so that we're already paying for. So yeah, I'm good with them chipping in.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to make it sound like I didn't want the government to spend something. My concern is when I looked at this, I read it as they have reached out to 4 museums to discuss the possibility. So my thought wasn't that they were necessarily going to give it to 4 museums. That it could go to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. And so that's for me to bring it here. And so while I understand even the repositories, that's going to be backyard stuff. I can tell you from the dinosaur, the doctors conference here, that's one of the bonuses that they get for coming here is they get to go into the back and see the back stuff. And believe me, they get a big kick out of it. So I mean, like there's those pieces, plus the doctors who would come, the paleontologists, the people who study that kind of stuff that would come. So while it might not translate into specific tourism dollars like we would think, I really believe it would bring more people within, just because those folks would be talking more about Tumbler Ridge and that we have a repository here and that kind of thing. Like, I think it would bring up that level. But like I said, I absolutely agree with Mayor Kakauka that, yeah, maybe have the discussion and see what that says before we offer him a check or whatever. We just say, how much money are you going to give us, and go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's how much are they willing to invest, if they are. And let's have a conversation. Like I said, they say that about 4 museums and stuff, they have not reached out to Dinosaur or the museum in Tumbler Ridge. So I don't think they've done it at all. So I think this is an opportunity to have staff actually, let's initiate it with the museum. Like, I don't want to do it for them or without them. I want to do it with them, and that's why the motion has with the museum, because they need to be partaking in that, just because it's their forte, not mine, and they're probably not staff's. Okay, any more debate? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Councillor Julik.
Okay, so back to 7.3. I'm looking here.
For discussion again?
Oh, for discussion, 7.3.
Councillor Noxana, all in favor? Carried. Go
I
ahead,
thought it was
Councillor.
just something that was still open. I get it now. All right, so it doesn't really say here anything specific that they want. So I don't even know who they actually are looking for us to write the letter to. They're just saying to encourage the province of British Columbia to give this project the green light for the benefit of BC's natural resource industries. And so I get that, but I don't know, do we send that then to the Ministry of Infrastructure? Can we maybe send a letter back to Mayor Paull?
Yeah, I think maybe we just circle back to the city of Quesnel, the mayor of city Quesnel there, and just, if they're looking for some support, or obviously from the north, we're definitely willing to partake. But I think we just need to reach back to them, and I don't think the motion's needed. Staff will just reach back, just to make sure there wasn't something that was missed in the letter. Okay, anything else that'd like come up for discussion? Okay, I'll put 7.2 for discussion, just to chat about it. If I can get a seconder. Councillor Julik, all in favor? Motion carries. And that's, again, Councillor Norbury mentioned it at the last regular meeting of council, and that's just about the funding coming from the health minister in regards to the funding of the South Peace Health Services Society. So I think it's just good to make sure it's recognized that they're going to fund the Poultry House. So, any other discussion about that? Okay. Bylaws. Fees and charges amendment bylaw number 732, 2024. Report dated March 4th, 2024 from Deputy Corporate Officer regarding fees and charges amendment bylaw number 732, 2024. Councillor Julik.
That the District of Tumbler Ridge Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 732, 2024 be read for the first time.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion. Councillor Julik.
Yes, so I had a couple of questions. I appreciated the increase for the campgrounds as we discussed. I'm wondering about the RV park though, with it staying at $32 versus the $30. I think that we could could and probably should increase the fees at the RV park before we do third reading tonight. And I'm a little curious about how everybody else feels about the golf course. I see that they're the same as Lions Campground, the Flatbed Creek Campground. They have power at the golf course, and from what I understand, they have firewood given to them for free. So I would like to see how everybody else feels possibly about the Flatbed Campground. I wonder if they should be a little bit higher because of the power. I just think in my experience with the RV park says that the summer months, those air conditioners go a fair bit, especially when they have dogs or something that they're leaving there. So those are the two main things that I would like to discuss before we read this for a second and third time.
Okay. Mr. Earl, if you can just give an overview on how the fees were maybe established for the Lions Flatbed Campground, the golf course campground, and then the Monkman RV campground.
Thank you, Council. The fees were, the Flatbed Creek Campground was at a request of the operators. And then we did a survey in the area with the services similar to what they offer. And that's how they came up with that number. And we pulled around to other campgrounds as well and kind of got the numbers that were the going numbers to rates within the area, the region. And that's how we came up with those numbers. Sorry, I have a cold and my voice is going, and I'm going to ask Director Bento if he can pick up from where I'm failing. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Yes, so one of the things we also changed was the winter fees. Before patrons that would stay 14 nights or longer, it was only $17.14. Consider the winter expense we have for snow removal. It was fair to increase that amount. And the others, as Ms. Dorval mentioned, we did a poll around the communities. That's where we came with those prices.
Okay, thank you. Right, follow up, Councillor Julik.
So I did a quick look at a couple of spots, and so one that's close to us, they charge $52.50 a night for the RV park. I understood that you took away from what I can tell from there, okay.
The long term.
The long term was a discounted rate for the summer months, and it looks like that's been taken out altogether, which I'm still kind of on the bubble about. Although I don't know that it would stop people from staying, though I can say in my experience in 2019, people chose to stay at the hotel because it was cheaper to stay at the hotel than park their RV at the RV park. So I don't know if that's an argument for, because it was cheaper to stay at the hotel even with the discounted weekly rate. once they were there for 30 days, and they had the Wi-Fi. That was the biggest kicker. It was the Wi-Fi. It wasn't necessarily, but it was the same price on par, because I know we're not competing with the hotels. And I think that it's reasonable to charge more for the winter, just because I think that the costs probably are there. I wonder if it wouldn't be worth having that information to back it up. I don't know if it matters. But I definitely feel like the RV park should be more than 32 a night. I would be happy, and that was raised in 2017 from, I don't remember what it was prior to that, but I know 2017, so it's been 7 years since it's had an increase. I wouldn't be shy about that, and I wouldn't mind seeing the golf course be 35 total.
I guess my comments would be in regards, when you're asking the one question in regards to the nightly winter being taken off in regards to long stay. Staff already mentioned just in regards to the increase in snow removal.
Oh, right.
Right, so they already mentioned that, never mind the power and stuff. If you're into making a change, you'll put we have a motion on the floor, you'd have to put an amendment to it. Amendment, I'm gonna try and, let me ask staff, because we definitely don't want to go, if we can debate the motion instead of trying to get a feeling what council is in, let's put a motion on the floor and debate it. Ms. Torval? So we have a motion on the floor right now, and that's in regards to the first reading of the bylaw?
Giving first reading. So you can read it a first time, and actually you can read it a
Second time.
as well.
And then debate changes.
And then debate, and then do your changes there after the second reading.
Perfect. I marked it there, I just wanted to confirm it. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, I am going to call the question on the first reading of the amendment bylaw for fees and charges. All in favor? Carries. Second recommendation, please. Councillor Dussault?
That the District of Tumbler Ridge Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw Number 732, 2024 be read for the second time.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Julik.
I would like to make a motion to increase the nightly fee for the Monkman RV Park and the golf course camping. Monkman RV Park only for the summer months, not the winter. I think I'm satisfied with that. And then I have a question about the commercial water.
Okay, well, that'll be a different one.
Okay.
So before I get a seconder, I just think that, again, to me, I don't know if I want to do, it's up to you. Just throwing out amounts out there or giving this directing staff to reach out to more local campgrounds, i.e. whatever one you've looked into, to get a better average of, I'm not sure where they reached out to. Because to me, I mean, it's up to council, but to me, to just throw out numbers and now we don't pass that one, then we have to pass another one. So I'm not sure if you want to change your motion and then.
I just said an increase. I didn't give a dollar.
But set it to staff.
Oh.
To relook at the increases.
Okay.
Yep, yep. We haven't seconded it. We can do whatever before. That's why I want to second, and then we're doing amendments, then that'll mess me up tonight.
So I would like to make a motion to have the staff go back and look at comparable rates for Monkman RV Park for a possible increase. Is that how you want it to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana, discussion. So I'm not sure if staff will need it as a clear amendment motion, but I think what Councillor Jay is trying to capture, we just want to make sure that we've hit the target in regards to whatever campgrounds we reached out to. I know she Googled Dawson Creek, it was $52. That's what was talked about. So if we can, I just think we want to make sure, one, to me, I don't think we need to be, we're Tumbler Ridge and stuff, and I don't want to debate your motion on, I'll wait till the amount comes back. But the same aspect, I don't want to scare people to go to camp in Dawson Creek or Chatwin. I mean, don't get me wrong, great neighbors, great communities, support the peace. But I also want to see people come here, camp here and stuff like that. I'm not sure if that's what staff had looked at or not, but if we could just get, I think that's what Councillor Julik's looking, and council can debate this as a whole. If staff's going to even have to go and do that, but I think that's what you're looking for.
It is, and then I would also say that I would hate to see the campgrounds in town start competing. Like, I think that everybody has something unique, and that's what I found when I was an operator. So part of it for me is making sure, though, that we price competitively, because I know when people come to Tumbler Ridge, they're coming to Tumbler Ridge for a reason. And I would hate for us to start operating at a loss. Like, to me, I think that we have a value service there, and I think that comparable, like, I'm not saying we have to be bang on, but 32 to 52 is a fairly big difference, and it's only $2 more than what we were going to charge for campgrounds that don't have full services and definitely do not have the shower house, the wash house that we have at the RV park.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
I trust that the legwork was done, and I also trust the Lions Club representative that we have talking. And
So this one, sorry not to cut you off, this is, I believe, Monkman RV Park.
specifically, fair enough. Lions Club doesn't apply. Fair enough. And actually, I would have liked Councillor Julich to pick a number, given your history. If there's a number that you think is higher, because I have to say, from what we had discussed before, I expected a higher number on these fees as well. So if I don't really want to send it back, so I would be voting against this motion, and I would hope you do a second motion with an actual number attached.
Councillor Knoxown.
Thank you. I would agree. I expected the numbers to come back for the RV park higher because we do offer a lot there. It's a fully serviced site. I'm not in favor of us choosing arbitrary numbers. I think that we need to be fair to our visitors at the campgrounds. So I'd want to see what other campgrounds offer and what their prices are so we can remain competitive. We want visitors to come here. But so all of our campgrounds have a fair chance.
Thank you for that. Any more discussion? So I'll make some comments, and I agree. I think, don't get me wrong, I think staff has reached out and done a great job, and, and I understand from council side, like, when we look at full-service campgrounds, and don't get me wrong, it's not my forte, and if, to me, if we're not happy with the amounts here, send them back to staff, let them go back and have a look at the Monkman RV Park when we talk about full service, $550,000 shower and wash facility there. When we talk about stuff like that, I think, maybe it needs to be looked at. Again, I know staff went and did it. I mean, I don't want to, but to me, I think we just want a sharper relook, and I would support that to have a sharper relook before it comes back to be approved. So I'll support the motion on the floor. Any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Hoffman votes opposed. And I'm not sure if you were here, but people on Zoom can't see how we vote, so just want to make sure. I know I feel bad. That's why I want to say that. It's because people from Zoom can't see how we vote. Councillor Julich.
I would like to make a motion that staff look at the increasing the already proposed increase for the golf course camping fee.
Okay. Seconder. Councillor Knoxana. Discussion. Councillor Julich.
And just to reiterate it, for me, it's the difference because there's power down there. There's, from what I understand, unless this has changed, firewood is free and delivered right to your camp spot. And I understand that they don't have 24-hour access to a wash house, except I still feel that the free firewood, I think it's $10 probably an armload at the flatbed campground. And so I just think that it should be more, or we need to look at charging for firewood. I don't know who's in charge of that. Like, I don't know if it's the operator for the campground or if it's the district of Tumbler Ridge.
It's ran by the district Tumbler Ridge.
So I think that we need to look at that again. That would be my concern, and because I don't want them to have to compete, the two campgrounds, with each other, because then that means we're giving away the farm.
Okay, fair. Any more discussion? Ms. Tourville, I know I've read through it, unless I've missed it, and if staff can clarify in regards to the free wood at the golf course. Are we still offering the free wood? Because it has been that way down there. Can be honest with that.
Thank you, Mayor. I will ask Director Bento if he can confirm or clarify what happens with the wood.
Mayor and Council, yeah, we do provide the firewood. Yep.
Okay. That's what I thought. If I may make an amendment to your motion, I am going to make an amendment that we look at a wood cost for charging for per bundle at the golf course RV sites. I'm taking a second on the amendment, Councillor Julich. Discussion on the amendment. So the reason I'm looking at that same concept, apple for apple, orange for orange. Lions flatbed campground charges $10 for a wheelbarrow. I mean, to me, when we have district staff going out and cutting wood, chopping wood, delivering wood in a gator for free for campers at the golf course. I mean, and maybe that's a perk that staff thinks it's a, and I'm fine to hear that back from staff. This is why we would rather just do it for free, because, you know, it's the benefit, less hassle in trying to bundle it, sell it, whatever. But, you know, to me, when we look at another free service for anybody that decides to camp down there at the cost of the taxpayer, when we talk about chainsaw, fuel, and labor. So, Councillor Julich and then Councillor Hoffman.
And I wished I had thought about this before I made the motion. Maybe staff can think about it while they're looking at the possibility of changing. I'm often down there and there's 3 or 4 trailers in a stall, and I'm going to guess that they don't get charged for 3 or 4 trailers. They probably only get charged for 1. So where that's not necessarily possible at I know when I was the operator at Monkman RV Park, there was no doubling up. If there was a tent parked there, you paid for the tent and you paid for the trailer. And I don't know if that's the case when there's 3 holiday trailers parked in those sites down there. So I don't know if that's something that you guys take care of. I know it was taken care of on the Monkman RV rules when I was out there. So I don't know if there's a set of rules of those for the golf course as well, or possibly even the flatbed campground. But that's just something I thought of as we were sitting here talking.
Thanks. Ms. Torval, sorry to put you on the spot, and you may not be able to answer this time. That's fine. Do we have a policy in regards to the how we rent out the camp stalls at the golf course? In regards to how many units are allowed per stall, what the charge is if there's more units per stall?
Council, I'm not aware of a policy
Good.
in place. There certainly isn't a district policy that's been adopted by council. Whether there's a in-house policy, I'm not sure. Director Bento?
We can always wait till later too, but.
Mayor and Council, yeah, I'm not aware of the policy, but it is a concern if there's 3 vehicles there in one park. Yeah, it's something that together with bylaw, we can take a look at it.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I know it's been the same, but I guess this is a question for staff, is the demand for them the same? Is it perceived by people that rent a lot in both that they're equivalent? I don't think, with only a few on the golf course, I don't see any reason why the golf course wouldn't be a higher charge, just proximity to town, whatever reason. It doesn't matter. Forget the firewood, that's an imbalance that we are looking to correct here. But I don't know. I don't think they need to be the same, and just want to keep that in mind when we're looking at the values of this. Outlook Point restaurant across the street. Like, there's reasons to think that one might be perceived as more valuable than the other, and I don't have a problem charging a different rate between the two of them.
Yeah, and I think that's why these motions have come out before the 3rd reading, which we won't be reading the 3rd reading tonight because of the change or the ask back to staff to send us back to staff to have a better look. For those reasons exactly. You know, one has power. One has full services with a brand new shower facility, 8 years old, whatever it may be, compared to the Lions Flatbed that has no power. And the only service they do have a washroom facility from 1989. Right, so I think that's what we're looking for from council. And we want to make sure we get it right the first time. Like, obviously right now, if somebody was to rent any stalls, they'd be at the old rates, which I know I'm well aware of, as long as council's aware of that. This could take a bit of time. For staff to bring it back. Does that answer your question, Councillor Hoffman? Okay. Any more question or debate in regards to the amendment? Okay, I'll call the question on the amendment. That's in regards to the wood charging. All in favor? The amendment carries. Any more discussion on the amended motion? The amended motion is to send the golf course RV site per nightly rate back to staff to have a better look, and also including in that is the charge for wood. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on now to 8.2, Animal Responsibility Amendment Bylaw number 733, 2024. Report dated March 4th, 2024 from Director of Protective Services, Fire Chief regarding Animal Responsibility Amendment Bylaw number 733-2024. Now, I guess just before I go to the amendments, Ms. Torval, this won't affect in regards, because I know some of the part of that animal responsibility bylaw attaches back to the fees and charges. This will not it'll hinder the fees and charges, but we can go to the 3 readings. Thank you. Councillor Gillick.
That the District of Tumbler Ridge Animal Responsibility Amendment Bylaw number 733-2024 be read for the first time.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Second, Councillor Noxana.
That the District of Tumbler Ridge Animal Responsibility Amendment Bylaw number 733-2024 be read for the second time.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. If there's any changes that our council wants, it needs to be done before the 3rd reading. If not, we have to appeal the 3rd reading at the next meeting. Just want to make sure that's noted. Take the next amendment or next recommendation, Councillor Dussault.
That the District of Tumbler Ridge Animal Responsibility Amendment Bylaw number 733-2024 be read for the 3rd time. Seconder,
Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. So the only comment I'll make is if later on somebody finds something that they want to change, we still have an opportunity before the final reading. It just means we have to rescind the 3rd reading before we can do it. Just want to make sure that's clear for council. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, new business, council budget process policy EO8. Report dated March 4th, 2024 from the intern CEO and Director of Corporate Services regarding council budgeting process, policy EO-8. Take the recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
The council waives EO8 council budgeting process policy for the 2024 budget year.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Budget pre-approval. Report dated March 4th, 2024 from the intern CEO, Director of Corporate Services regarding budget pre-approval. Take a recommendation, please. Councillor Julik.
That council provides budget pre-approval in the amount of $18,000 from the 2024 proposed budget for the completion of the proposed District of Tumbler Ridge zoning bylaw.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Discussion. Guess my only question would be back to Ms. Torval, if I may. We have enough in there in case we need a bit more? Like you have a little bit of...
Yes, council, this was the updated quote that they gave us, they provided with us, so this is good for now,
Okay.
what we're aware of.
Okay, thank you. I thank you for that, and I know council as a whole, we're waiting for that to come forward after all the changes or all the debate and ask, so look forward to that. Any more discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Motion carries. 9.3, Development Variance Permit Application Approval, 95 Wolverine Avenue. Report dated March 4th, 2024 from the Director of Protective Services, Fire Chief, regarding Development Variance Permit Application Approval for 95 Wolverine Avenue. Recommendation, please, Councillor Noxana.
That council authorizes the development variance permit application submitted for 95 Wolverine Avenue, Lot A Plan EPP 123298.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. Discussion. Councillor Clickash.
Yes, Your Worship. When we pass these extensions onto properties and the square footage of these extensions, there's in the building code, there's 625 square feet or 58 square meters that's allowed with the same type of foundation under this. So now it would have to be up to the building inspector to determine what kind of a foundation it requires under this building, because it's almost 100 square feet long, bigger, right? So I believe it's 753 square feet, as opposed to the building code that allows you 625. So, and that's for an accessory building that everybody can build on their property. As soon as you start getting bigger than that, then you either require the building inspector to okay it, or you have to get an engineer to okay the monolithic pad. Because if you stretch the length, then you wind up that the thing could crack in the middle, whatever, you know, depending on how much weight you're putting in that length. So I think when we say we're going to pass this, I think maybe the building inspector should take a look at this beforehand and decide whether he's going to allow it with that type of monolithic pad, or is he going to want a different kind of foundation?
Good comment. Mr. Orville, sorry to put you on the spot. I guess the question would be, has the building inspector looked at this? I mean, I know the variances have been put in front of us by the resident, put in front of us at P&P and brought forward to the regular meeting. But even if we do pass this, it would have to be through the building inspector, our building bylaws, or all that. Mr. Orville?
I'm going to pass this to Chief Curry because he's the one that's been working on this file extensively. So, Chief Curry.
Thank you, Mr. Orville. Mayor and Council, through to Councilor Clickash. So the development variance permit is to allow for the variance to the zoning bylaw. And as Councilor Clickash did allude, the building inspector was consulted at one point in the technical aspect of the review. And it is still subject to the building and plumbing bylaw. So there still is the mandate that the proponents wishing to build the shop still have to get a permit. They still have to follow the building code and every other subject to that the building inspector lays forth.
Follow up, Councilor Clickash?
Yep, that's good, thanks.
Yep, thank you. Thanks, staff. Any more? Councilor Julich.
I guess for me, I just wanted to say I looked at the site, refreshed my memory of the site, and I'm okay with the height on the, because there's that next. No, that's the same one. Okay, because I'm okay with the size, the bigger size, and I hear what Councillor Clickash is saying, and I'm really glad that somebody else is going to be in charge of making sure they have the right cement in there. The height part, I know that that's something we discussed through the zoning bylaw because their property backs onto Mackenzie Avenue, and it's not going to block anybody's sight lines. I'm okay with this one. Yeah, because I think I just wanted to make that clear, make sure it was said that this isn't going to be for all of them, because I got to say, if this was going to block some sightlines someplace, I wouldn't be in favor of putting the higher garage in, because I think that those heights are there for a reason, but I'm okay with this because I know it's not going to block any sightlines for anybody.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. I know the location. The only thing is, this is something that we actually asked be put into our zoning bylaw that we're waiting for to come back. No, we did ask. So to me, I think.
Wanted it.
No, I think we discussed as council about some of like the carriage houses and stuff like that. So to me, when some of that gets approved in that zoning bylaw, we won't see variances. That's my understanding. I mean, if staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, the only reason I bring this up, so that when we go back, when we get our draft from the zoning bylaw, that would be the opportunity to make sure that we have the right criteria, that whether there's a stipulation in there or whatever, because like you said, you went up, you see where they're located, you don't have an issue with the height. But to me, if we put it in our zoning bylaw after we approve it, once it comes back, it could already be there. But let me just go to staff to make sure I'm right before that. I could be wrong.
Thank you, Council. I'll ask Chief Curry again.
Ms. Torville, Mayor and Council, so as the Mayor did say, that an increase to the overall height and the square footage is being proposed into the new or the proposed zoning bylaw that is under review, and this will be based on the square footage of the actual property and then a percentage thereof for the size. The height of said building for an accessory building will be capped. It's not going to have a threshold based on the height that's there. So if council does wish that they are concerned about sightlines and everything, that's not currently the way it's proposed in the bylaw, and you won't see a variance.
Okay. So we're not going to debate that. If you have a question in regards to what's on the floor, I just wanted, just because it came up and I didn't want to get into a big debate about it, but I just want council to be aware when that does come forward, if that's our concern or if that's some council's concern, that will be the time to bring that up. So as long as it's in regards to this, I'll take Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Jillick.
Thank you, Mayor. I've seen the building they want to build, and it's very much consistent with what we were talking about before, having a taller garage so you can fit your various recreational stuff through. Variances get my cackles up right away because I want to know why they're doing it. But in this case, I mean, it's very consistent with what we talked about before, and I'm more than happy to approve it for this. And I think it's within line of what we were talking about on our bylaws anyways for a secondary building with that in mind. So I don't see any reason why they should wait until the other one's doing this. This is in line with what we talked about, so I'm more than happy to approve it.
Cool. Thank you for that. Any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Councillor Clickash voted opposed. Again, I feel bad saying it that way. I feel like I'm trying to isolate somebody. But I understand why the ask is from the residents. When they're on Zoom, they can't see our hands. Yeah. So that's only, some want to know how we vote, and I don't blame them. So that's why it does feel weird to say who voted opposed, but I guess that's how we'll go. 9.4 temporary commercial use permit, 123 Commercial Park. Report dated March 4th, 2024 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding temporary commercial use permit, 123 Commercial Park. Councillor Dussault.
That council approves a temporary use permit for the development of a C1 business of a tattoo shop at the property legally described as Lot 5, PGP 30254, District Lot 3164, Civic Address 123, Commercial Park, Tumbler Ridge, BC. And that council directs staff to file notice of the permit with the Land Title Office.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana. Discussion. Councillor Hoffman.
Mayor, it's just more from my understanding what happens when a C1 and C2 classification are under the same establishment. Do we have a policy or history of that?
Well, I know it's in our zoning amendment bylaw that we're bringing it forward to allow the same business that wants to happen there, but.
Yes, but sorry, different question. I mean, I just can't imagine it hasn't come up before that a business is looking to do something that falls under C1 and C2. Have we had to, I guess it's for staff if they have a history, I just don't see a problem with it as is under the current one if they're operating within one of those two. That's just kind of where my mind is. I'm kind of wondering if council's on the same page, and I appreciate it being brought to us because I don't know the answer to that question, but I kind of just, the pertinent part put at the end of the background seems to be what should be up front, and are we okay with that? And I just am. So to save ourselves the next time around, wonder if we could just clear that up going forward, but that's where that's coming from.
Just because of location and what the use of the business that's trying to go in there. At this time, they actually have to come in and ask for a temporary use permit. Again, we asked the previous meeting how long that permit's going to be. It's going to be until the zoning amendment bylaw comes back to council and then gets approved, because we have changed it in our proposed changes, I should say. But Ms. Torval?
Yes, you are correct. And through the council to Councillor Hoffman, this is the first time we've had this situation where we've had two businesses with separate zonings wanting to operate in the one zone. So.
Good. You're good? Yeah. Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, schedule of meetings. Before we get too far into it, previously, before the budget or before the meeting started, we had a draft budget schedule put in front of us. I'm not sure if all of council's had a chance to look at it. The only change I see is April, for Tuesday, April 2nd, moving that to Thursday, April 4th. We have a regular meeting on April 2nd, and I just think it puts too much on one meeting. Any other questions or concerns in regards to that budget schedule from council? We're all good? Okay, I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the budget schedule for capital and operating that staff has put in front of us. So Tuesday, March 12th, 5 p.m., Monday, March 25th, 5 p.m., Thursday, April 4th, 5 p.m., Tuesday, April 16th, 5 p.m., Monday, April 22nd, 5 p.m., Monday, April 29th, 5 p.m., Monday, May 6th, 5 p.m. Take a seconder. Councillor Julich. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor. Motion carries. Any other concerns from council in regards to schedule of meetings? Okay. Anything from staff?
No, nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Any notice of motions? Okay, moving on to council business. Any council's business from the floor? Councillor Knoxena.
Thank you. I attended the WNMS AGM last week, Wednesday. Really well attended. They have a full board going forward into 2024. The big highlight for the year is this is their 30th year of operating as a society in Tumbler Ridge, which is huge. This encompasses thousands of volunteer hours put into our community over these 30 years, and I just wanted to give them a little special mention.
Yeah, don't blame you. Congrats to them. Any other thing from council for council's business? Councillor Julich.
I've done a lot of health meetings, 3 in the last couple of weeks. The motion, I've sent them in, and they'll be at the next in the next package, and then I'll just forward minutes as they come available, if that works for everybody. And I think that's it. There's probably some questions, but I think I'll get some information before I come back to council with that.
Okay. Anything from council? Anything else? So I mentioned it earlier. I actually had a pretty slow couple of weeks. Well, not really slow because I had lots of PRD meetings and such. But again, Councillor Dussault and myself met with Zena from the Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation. We just talked about in regards to the letter that we received from the ministry and just overall discussion in regards to just everything and stuff. I did have a meeting with Darren and Hans from Anglo American. Hans was in town, so just wanted to get together and just, have a light conversation. Again, mine's for sale. They're still working through the process. That's pretty much the only update from their side on that. And the other thing, it's really not councillor or anything I've done, but to me, I think Councillor Knoxena hit it off the nose. I was hoping somebody would not steal this one, but I want to congratulate the U11 coaches, parents, and those young children for taking and winning the banner they'll be coming back to Tumbler Ridge with. So congrats to them. So I think that's huge. So I think that's huge. And then another thing, just so council's aware, we have the skating carnival coming up on Saturday. If you're available, I think you should partake in it. It's usually a job well done by the skating group, the figure skating group. They do a really, really good job there. So 50-50s and all that. So if you get a chance. Sorry? Does it start at 12? 12. There you go.
I think it starts at 12.
It starts at 12, I've been told. But yeah, so if you get a chance, I think that's worth, people attending if you can. Okay, thanks to Councillors Dussault in regards to her Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation meeting minutes. Question and answer period from the gallery. Questions? There's only Anthony here, so no? You're all good? Okay. Ms. Torval, any emails?
There aren't any emails tonight.
Okay. Take a resolution for a close, please. Councillor Julich.
that the March 4th, 2024 regular council meeting be closed to the public according to Section 91E and J of the Community Charter to permit discussion about E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality, and J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Seconder. Councillor Noxana, all in favor? Motion carries. 5 minutes. Open is the council has put a motion forward in regards to letter of interest received from Anthony and Karen Booz to purchase the listed price of $43,000. Intent is to lease for 230 Main Street, Strata 3, Lot 3. Staff can write that any way they like, because it really doesn't tell us what we're doing. We went with option one.
If you could read the recommendation on page 7.
On what page, sorry?
7.
Thank you. No. That the District of Tumbler Ridge accepts the offer of $43,000 from Anthony and Karen Booz for the purchase of the property referred to as Strata Lot 3, Plan BCS 2144, District Lot 3164, Peace River Land District, together with an interest in the common property and a portion to the unit entitlement of the Strata Lot shown on Form VPID 026-922-673. And that staff is authorized, thank you, and that staff is authorized to complete the sale on behalf of the District of Tumbler Ridge. That's probably the motion that should have went in closed first.
Yes.
Not option one, because option one's only a letter of interest, so we're gonna have to go back into closed.
I just thought we had option 1 and 2.
No. So we've already adjourned closed, so this will have to be a special meeting.
Oh, quit being particular.
Well, I'm looking to corporate, but this would have to be, we've already adjourned it. This would have to be at a special meeting.
Who knows? It's just us. Who's closed it? Come on.
Sorry?
Oh. Oops. I'm on TV, looking like a silly person. I just didn't say all the words.
Okay, I'm gonna call for a 5-minute recess for staff here.